The Cleveland Cavaliers still have some work to do to round out the roster after finalizing the acquisition of DeAndre Hunter. Since this deal was a 2-for-1, sending both Caris LeVert and Georges Niang out, an additional roster spot is open and needs to be filled, ultimately leaving the Cavs with just 13 roster players. They now have little under 2 weeks to address this issue, and there are a number of options they can take to do so. With that in mind, it's about time we begin breaking down the numerous options out there for the Cleveland Cavaliers on the NBA's buyout market. But before we dig in, I'd just like to say, do your boy a favor and smash that like button, subscribe to keep the Cavs coverage coming, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on a piece of Cavs content. Let's dive in. So as of right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers are still pretty stacked at the guard position. Even after losing the likes of Caris LeVert, the team still sports 7 total guards, many of which are either elite ball handlers and facilitators like Darius, Garland, and Donovan Mitchell, or dependable options in Ty Jerome, Craig Porter Jr., and even Max Strus. It would be a mistake, in my opinion, to add yet another guard. Then there's the forward group, which is headlined by the newly acquired DeAndre Hunter and consists of Isaac Okoro, Dean Wade, Jalen Tyson, and Max Strus technically. This group features some positional flexibility and could probably use another body, but it really isn't a necessity considering that most of them can alternate between the 3 and the 4. That leaves us with a group of big men that is pretty thin. It's literally just Evan Mobley, Jarrett Allen, and Tristan Thompson. And before you get up in arms about the way I've categorized these guys, remember, Evan Mobley is essentially splitting his time between power forward and center this year and has often functioned as Cleveland's backup 5 due to the makeup of the roster and the minute staggering of both Allen and Mobley. He, along with Allen and Thompson, are truly the only players on the entire roster capable of playing the 5. Therefore, they are really just an injury away from having to press Thompson into a role that he really isn't suited for at this point of his career. This leads me to believe that the Cavs should be in the market mostly for a true 5, but I won't shy away from some options out there that can play both the 4 and 5, so we'll be looking at a variety of options here. And while this sounds like a perfect description of guys like Chris Boucher, who has already shown how valuable of a piece he could be due to his floor spacing chops, or Larry Nance Jr., who has the positional versatility needed to solve this riddle and has previous ties to Cleveland, neither has been bought out at this point in time, so they don't technically count just yet. Let's start with an in-house option, shall we? So here's the thing. JT Thor is closer to big wing than big man in my opinion, but he is totally capable of sliding over to the 5 in stretches if need be. Thor has been tearing it up this year at the G League level, and while he hasn't necessarily been given much run at the NBA level, this will be a perfect opportunity to see what you have in him and if he could be a meaningful, cost-effective option moving forward. It wouldn't be the first time the Cavs turn to an in-house option around this time of year. See their long history of converting two ways. In 20 total appearances for the Cleveland Charge, Thor is averaging 15.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, 2.2 assists, and 1.8 blocks while completing 44.3% of his field goals. And while that 3-point shot still isn't falling with high efficiency, it's still an element that he could potentially add while playing minutes at the 5. He's shown to be a capable defender and rebounder in limited action for the Cavs and in his time with the Charlotte Hornets. Adding Thor to the mix could make some sense. He is currently sidelined with a concussion though, but could be valuable down the stretch. Daniel Theis. The New Orleans Pelicans entered the 2024-25 season with Daniel Theis as their starting center, and he would wind up becoming a cap casualty as a salary dump to get the Pelicans out of the luxury tax. Upon joining the Oklahoma City Thunder, he was immediately waived and is on more than a few teams' radars as a backup big. That's a list, in my opinion, that should include the Cavaliers. He may be past the point of everyday contribution, but he is still a solid backup center for any team to have around. He would essentially be a third string break in case of emergency option for the Cavs. Theis sports a big frame capable of battling inside and fighting for positioning on the glass, and he could indeed give Cleveland a real big body inside to let loose on traditional centers. He would add to the rebounding, which is an area that has been lackluster outside of Mobley and Allen. He's an underrated playmaker out of short rolls, capable of finding shooters on the perimeter, like we see from both bigs right now, and he would come pretty cheap. The Cavaliers may be able to hide his offensive spacing limitations, and due to him being able to hold his own inside the paint and in space, he could be a useful third center for Cleveland. If he clears waivers, they should absolutely give Theis a call. Mo Bamba. Bamba is another option the Cavaliers should be taking a look at. He was recently waived by the Jazz, and while he has always displayed some semblance of being a stretch big man and can be a shot blocking presence, he truly hasn't ever been able to put it together consistently. Still though, He's got size as a 7-footer, can rebound, knock down threes, block shots, and could still be more productive given the correct environment than many of the other options on the open market. It's really hard to believe that Bamba is still just 26 years old and has already appeared in games for 4 different teams already. Could Cleveland be his 5th? Time will tell. Moses Brown. Another option that has been available for a few months now is former Cavalier Moses Brown, who made 9 total appearances with the Indiana Pacers, where he showed that he is still a capable pick and roll option and can rebound. The Cavs have familiarity with him. He's still quite young at 25, and though he isn't positionally versatile, he could play alongside Evan Mobley and in lineups that provide a lot of spacing beside him. And speaking of former Cavs, Robin Lopez. He is still floating around out there. Lopez is good for locker room vibes, has the acumen to play against more traditional bigs, and the Cavs are already pretty familiar with what he brings to the table. Also, the hook shot, who doesn't love that? Malik Williams. Williams is a 26-year-old who spent a bit of time with the Toronto Raptors last season before signing an Exhibit 10 contract with the Miami Heat this year. He wound up getting waived prior to the start of the 2024-25 campaign that has been performing quite well for the Sioux Falls Skyforce, Miami's G League affiliate, where he's putting up 14 points per game, 9.2 rebounds, 1.7 assists, 1.2 steals, and 1.3 blocks while completing 44.5% of his field goals, including 37.7% of his triples. Williams has the size at 6'11", can rebound, is a capable rim deterrent, and can space the floor at a high enough level to potentially fit beside either Cavs big man at this point. Granted, there is a difference between shooting well at the G League level and NBA level. Marvin Bagley Jr. also deserves mention here considering he'd fit in well as a third big, but he's yet to have been waived as of recording this. Those are the names at the center position on the market right now. There are, however, some options at the floor who could possibly slide over if necessary, and this list starts off with a pair of former Cavaliers. Isaiah Mobley. Back during the 2022 draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers took a chance on Evan Mobley's older brother, Isaiah Mobley, and while the elder Mobley had shown promise as a potential big man off the bench while suiting up for the charge, it never really translated to success at the NBA level. Mobley has spent time with the Philadelphia 76ers G League affiliate, the Delaware Bluecoats, where he has continued to showcase his multifaceted skill set as somewhat of an offensive hub. He's a capable passer, a very solid rebounder, and decent rim protector. Could a reunion be in the cards? Pete Nance. And then there is Pete Nance, who also spent time with Philly this year, but actually managed to make the active roster, suiting up for 7 games before ultimately being waived a few days ago. And in those 7 games, Nance spent 52% of his minutes at the 3, 23% at the 4, and 24% at the 5. This serves to illustrate how positionally versatile Nance could be if a team ever cracks the code on how he should be used. Nance only truly ever got spot minutes while with Cleveland, but that was during the JB Bickerstaff era when the Young Guns didn't often get a ton of chances. Could Kenny Atkinson get more out of him? Now suppose the Cavs say to hell with the big man depth and just want to add solid depth pieces on the wing. They could target players like former Ohio State Buckeye Keita Bates-Diop, Marcus Morris, who the Cavs already have a solid amount of familiarity with, but would have locker room concerns in. They could look at Robert Covington, a man that was once synonymous with the term 3-and-D. They could also look at Thad Young, who was an all-around good locker room presence. And as I mentioned to kick things off, the Cavs have about 2 weeks to try and secure these services of at least one more player so that they are meeting the league requirement for 14. It'll be really interesting to see who could be brought in. Maybe it'll be a complete surprise. Go Cavs!